computers now have primary control of critical vehicle functions.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all having yourselves a fantastic start to the AM here. Happy Tuesday morning, I guess, at this point. And welcome to CPI day here. CPI dropped this morning. Relatively decent reaction, like a 200-point move on NQ, something like 40-ish points on ES. Pretty aggressive type breakout, and certainly, right, creates a little bit of a unique dynamic for us here. Maybe a little bit similar to the narrative we had there yesterday, where price action made the move overnight. And we'll see basically if any of that momentum wants to sustain effectively, right? We've got less than 1% of implied range here today, and we're hanging out pretty much already at that, right at that number here. Sorry, I'm just doing some math quickly. Okay, so we've got about 0.9% of range, right, as sort of our implied volatility here this morning. So not exactly, a huge indication, right, that maybe we've got a ton more momentum to the upside. So very curious to see basically where the enthusiasm shows up here today. We didn't really see any there yesterday, and I'd like to see some return before I kind of get back to being aggressive. I think if I'm looking at my trading day there yesterday, like objectively, I think I was too aggressive in conditions or in moments where probably that aggression wasn't worth it. I think it's probably the best term. Like it did end up being like a pretty good P&L day there in the end. But I think just a lot of trades or a lot of reasons, to have like sat on hands and maybe to have like ignored some of those reasons is a little bit of a concern. And certainly pretty rare that I want to be taking, as many decisions as I did there yesterday, especially when they're kind of like $100 up, $100 down, $100 up, $100 down. At some point, right, you're sort of just getting a bad risk reward return on mental capital. And yeah, you just set yourself up, I think, to drain it much easier. Now, I didn't feel like that was the case there yesterday specifically. I actually felt like really happy with how I traded yesterday. So a little bit maybe Harvey Two Face here about my trading, but I think I made it. I made probably too many decisions, but I like the way that I controlled those decisions. I like how I gamified them, and ultimately, I liked basically just the ability to manage those losses well. That's always something that I can take as a positive, but I didn't need to put myself under that much pressure or test myself that many times there yesterday. I think I probably could have been a little bit more selective and gone from there. No, I've yet to see any prop firms that have any restrictions on like the total number of trades that you can take. I think that's, I mean, that'd be pretty crazy if they did. Um, Maybe someone will at some point, but I think more, yeah, like each trade just costs you some mental capital, right? Or it costs you some energy, or it costs you some focus, or whatever. There's a P&L cost to every trade, either positive or negative, and then there's also kind of like a mental capital cost, right? To any sort of decision. No restrictions again. Um, so it's just understanding, yeah, that sometimes there's like too many decisions can also kind of put you on edge or kind of like ruin your trading. Whereas sometimes, the best move is no trade versus, 16 or 20 or 30 trades. And, obviously being a little bit exaggerated there. Um, but yeah, just want to really be maintaining control over how I behave. And the more that that's the focus, the more that I'm accountable to myself over that, generally the better my trading goes. So long story short, probably too many decisions there yesterday, but happy with how I managed them. If I can continue to manage my trades and my decisions well post entry, that's going to put me in good shape. And then if I can just kind of focus on like first principles from a trading perspective, i.e., like are conditions good? Are we getting good breakouts? Are we seeing yada yada yada? If we can build out those first principles, then I think that's a pretty good combo, right, for us to kind of work through. So with that being said, a little bit of a longer maybe rant and rave than usual here this morning. But yeah, let's start mapping things out. Let's figure out what we want to do here this AM, and then let's go from there. So yesterday, red candle, decreasing volume, and then we're gapping up. So we're going to call that a 1 for 3 there to the downside. And it's a reasonably sized gap, right? Pretty decent sized gap up. So big concern maybe is that it's like a fake out breakout type scenario. We're looking 64.30 was yesterday's high. Pre-market high is going to be 64.40. So not too much work to do there besides that. And then to the downside here, we're going to be looking 90, 63.90 as our starting point here, and then can go from there. I mean, if we're going to be bearish, realistically, we probably want to see it cracking under 400, right? As quickly as possible, lose that formal element of support. I don't want to see price action kind of hesitate around our key entry zones. I would much rather, this is probably obvious, but I'd much rather just see clean reactions, clean moves, easy follow through, and not have to worry about it. Favorite days in the world are like the one and done days. And yeah, I'd love to see for the market to set up that way and to give us some of that enthusiasm. Yeah, downside don't need to change too much either. Okay. NQ, red candle, decreasing volume, gap up. So same thing, right? Like we had there on the old crude oil, or sorry, on the old ES. I bought gas yesterday, so brains in the gutter. Pre-market high here is going to be 23.8. That's going to be taken care of by the indicator, unless for whatever reason the range is like less than, I don't know, 30 points or something. So it's going to be I think 23.8 is probably already taken care of. So 23.9, right, or basically a breakout through all-time highs is kind of what we're hoping for or what we're expecting at this point. And then to the downside, 23.6 continues to be the narrative here. And then, I probably would like to see a failure at all-time highs. Because if you're so close, maybe this is like a little bit of pseudoscience, but sometimes when you're so close to like such a key level or such like a big number, psychological level, previous all-time high, yeah, I mean those are probably usually the two big ones, or maybe like an earnings high. Markets just love to touch it, right? Like they love to hit that price for whatever reason and then make their move. And I feel like we're just so close to that all-time high region where I don't know if I can see a scenario where it doesn't at least attempt to do it. Maybe not today, but at some point here in the coming days for sure. Okay. Crude oil gave us a little inside bar there yesterday, right? Day of consolidation, continuing to hang out on that trend line. And so now, right, we're effectively looking for either a breakout over 64.60 or a breakdown here under 62.75. So again, not much changing from that perspective. I need to get out of this consolidation prior to being aggressive. And I almost want to default into being or like default into assuming that CL is in consolidation mode because it has been for pretty much the entirety of the summer, right? It has been a nonsense ticker and not particularly moving. The argument people ask me all the time, right, about back testing on different tickers or trading gold or Bitcoin futures or whatever it is. This is becoming probably a little bit more in the category where CL is like replacement level from like a trading conditions perspective. And so base assumption is probably just be a little bit chill on this thing, right? Until it can really start to separate and show us some actual like breakout momentum. I'm not sure if it's worth doing much more aggressive until then or anything super aggressively until then, because where's the evidence that you actually get paid for being aggressive like that? So in the short term, I think that this is probably still one where we maybe need to watch versus trade super wildly. And yeah, it needs to be. I can maybe do a dip buy here, but even then, I think I need to be probably a little bit patient. Yeah, she's a bit temperamental for us sometimes. But it's effectively been, yeah, like a month, not really of anything interesting that's happened here. Like probably if I were to tally it, probably less than 10 trades on CL or maybe right around 10. And I can't imagine the win rate on those is like 90% or anything along those lines. So I don't think we'd be missing too much getting rid of it. Okay, Apple inside bar, Tesla 3 for 3, Microsoft week 2 out of 3 to the ups or sorry, to the downside with volume. And it's higher high, higher low. Not exactly a big range. It almost maybe looks like a bit of a blow off bottom. A funny term. All right, Amazon, Doji decreasing volume gap up, so 1 for 3. Okay, Nvidia, green candle, not great volume. Doji gap up, technically a 3 for 3 here, but we'll call this a weak 3 for 3. What a beast this company is. AMD, technically a week 3 for 3. Some weird stories though out there this morning, right? Like we're kind of getting weak versions of trending price action. We're looking for this bull flag breakout here on Meta. So that's a red candle. We're gapping up above it. And like that's increasing volume, but that's not strong, right? So still very much looks like consolidation. Netflix, 2 out of 3 without volume. And then Google hit sitting at 200. Wow, inside bar. Sweet. And then, like we said, VIX hanging out 15 spot 36 and looks like it's pointing downwards. Again, maybe a good time or a cheap spot to buy some insurance. I don't know. I feel like the last time we were at all-time highs, price action was very, very frothy. Kind of feel a little bit maybe like we're in like a similar environment or similar backdrop here again. So let's see. How's everyone feeling today? Love it, Eric. Good. Good to hear, Kiki. Yeah, Mark, there's a couple chats. Yeah. No nervousness to fail, Rico. You got this, man. Congratulations. Yeah, I don't know if I don't know. I like being up pretty early, and it's really fun. But um, when it's like Sunday morning and you went out for dinner with your friends or you did something the night before or whatever, and you had a couple glasses of wine, you're up late, you still wake up at 5 a.m. and that's a tough life at that point. That's the hardest thing. Oh, they are, but when you're hungover, you're not looking at a sunrise. Okay, so again, this is the paper trade idea here, right? Your stop loss would be high a day. So again, maybe this is starting to not be a pattern worth particularly watching. Oh, on to the next one for now. So we've got good setup here. We're looking for volume. You know, we're 2/3 of the way there. Time-wise, I don't know if we're 2/3 of the way up. Be close. I'm not sure if I was quite expecting that pop off the open. I think that's a little bit more enthusiastic than I expected for sure. Not enough volume to play that as a breakout, unfortunately. CL, I'm going to wait for a while. That's probably more what we expected, I would say. Pretty interesting opening 8 minutes. An early bullish or early bearish failure. And a pretty tremendous breakout. Dipped by off of 750. Dipped by off of 730 or sorry 430. CL flush. That looks like it just made a higher high, huh? Yeah. I guess maybe the only thing that's, I shouldn't say concerning, but of interest here on NQ is that we're right under that 800. We can get increasing volume on the 5 on ES. Might be in play. And we'll keep an eye here, team. We're keeping an eye. Okay, probably unlikely to get that increasing volume there. Yeah, so not enough. We got 2 minutes here to these next candles. Let's see if we can get there. And again, not increasing volume on NQ, not increasing volume on ES. And again, a little bit of a struggle around that 800. So it was like a big pop of enthusiasm and then almost an instant stall. So I reckon now we're going set up through 800, right? Break and hold through that target and then looking for the 9. Otherwise, we're looking for potential rejection, right? Especially one with a lot of enthusiasm that could push us back down towards reasonable lows. It does feel suspicious, I think, of how NQ is stalling so easily at 800. Like that was the yeah, that was like its limit almost. Okay, so we're at 30 seconds to go. We should be getting, I mean, if we don't get increasing volume here, that would be a huge upset. Whoa. So one thing, right, that we've seen here so far is that okay, we might fail on a confirmation standard here, but we've seen big moves, right, stall pretty quick. This is a big move, obviously. Potential for it to stall out, right, on that, like that previous little breakout there that hit, 800 and then died. So just making sure, right, that we get the right reaction post entry here is going to be very, very important for me. Okay, we have to look for the pullback technique. And that would be, I mean, that's a huge pullback we would need. We need to get into like the 790 range. Don't think it's going to happen. I mean, maybe still do the aggressive, but it would be tight and it'd be one contract. Yeah, but I've been saying that for months. Like, I'm a believer that news comes out to support the direction of price, right? And the reaction or the run up to it, everything told us big breakout, and then it stalled and died instantly, right? So it's like the whole market ran out of enthusiasm, and then the news drops or the headline drops, and it creates like the secondary follow through. So on NQ here, we'd be looking 790-ish, right? So we got still got a long pullback to go. No, I don't think it's choreographed. I don't think it's choreographed. I think that's just somebody always knows, right? I think that's more it. So do I know how many contracts? So if I were to play the pullback technique, I know that I'd be looking for an entry price, right, better than 790 with a stop loss of 8, we'll say 810, right? So what's the difference between 790 and 810? Well, it's 20 points. So if it's 20 points, right, I'd be risking $400 a contract. So $400 a contract, right, would be less than my max loss number. But if I went 2 contracts, it would be 800. So I'd have to stick to 1. Now that doesn't seem like it's going to be the technique we end up using here regardless. You can maybe look at this from an aggressive, and then, your reference price now would be 722. Again, right, you're looking at 20 points of risk, so 1 contract, right? Doesn't think we're going to get it on that. And the reason why we couldn't do the aggressive here earlier, guys, right? Risk reward was not justifiable. Okay, so again, watching here, stop would be 742. I could look at this on the 5-min here as well. 704 stop loss. And so again, you just be looking at one contract here, team. Just be looking at one contract. And we're looking for an entry above 82, and we're looking for a short. I couldn't get it there. Didn't pull back enough. Pretty fast. Be patient here for a second. Come on. It's just like very quickly only touching the prices that we want and then dying right away. It's very hard to get a fill right now. Okay, we can go back to watching potentially on the 3. Just gonna stick to the 5 because we're close. Hey guys, I am in short. Average price 693.75. Stop loss 705. One contract. Watching this for a second. Just watching this for a second. I think it's maybe going a little bit frothy. Yeah, I just got stopped. For minus 215. Minus 215. Hmm. Hmm. Kind of weird. It's like some bouts of enthusiasm and then they like die very quickly. Like, that's mean. What? Okay, so maybe we can get the aggressive going on here again on the 3. Here's your confirmation, right? Bullish failure. Now you'd like to see basically that act as your support if you can get a clean break. Target here would be 600. It'd be looking like that, something like that ish. Again, 20-point stop, you have 1 contract play. Again, team, we're 10 points away from being green. That's pretty easy. Okay. $686 be the stop here. And now we're looking for a gentle pullback. Hey guys, I am in average price 667. Average price 667. And there it retested again. Stop is 686. A little bit of a better reaction, but maybe still not as enthusiastic as I would have maybe wanted. That's much better. Yeah, let's watch this close here again. Reasonable close, instant flush. We have to close here, guys. We're on this next little flush here down. Okay, I am out. Exit price 643. Exit price 643. It may be a little bit of a panic, but the fake out was what got me to get out of this. It felt like flush, and then I thought it was going to reverse up for a sec. So I'm okay with that decision. 643 exit. I still think that is the logical path of price action. I'm going to take my win here. Quick 23 points. You can't really complain about that in less than a couple minutes. basically I got a 1R move and I didn't want to see that go red. Maybe a little bit too, yeah, maybe too assertive in protecting there. Yeah, win's a win for sure. And if it's strong, it'll set back up for us, right? Yeah, 100%, James, 100%. And when you pair taking small losses like we did on that first trade, right? $200, it's really easy for us to get back to being green. A really, really big difference. Okay, maybe we've missed a little bit, but I'd feel a lot worse about my trade closing it after seeing it hit 622 and then closing it at that 643 and seeing, oh, I could have had this much more P&L and then just let the pity party start. Probably not the way to do it. Yeah, 100%, James. And you get big wins from a consistent, repeatable process, not by wanting big wins. And so if you feel like your trade is wrong, get out, get impartial. And if it starts to behave like you expected, you can always jump back in. If you were right in your analysis, save yourself some money. No big deal. And ES is setting up as a potential reversal. Look at this. Guys, I'm kind of cheering for this now, to be honest. Okay, not a reversal there on ES, but that would have been, or sorry, on NQ, that would have been a reason to get out. Here we've got a reversal signal to the upside on ES, and we'd be targeting high of day, so we'll call that 63.40. Would have to immediately be the aggressive entry technique because we made a higher high here. And then reference price would be, basically call it 617. You're looking at 2.5 points of risk, give or take, right? Oh, not awful. So stop loss here, let's call it 415 on the dot. Okay, wait. There, position size is going to change here in a second. Okay, now stop has to be 414, so an extra point. And I'd probably be looking at like 3 or 4 contracts here, kind of in that sizing. Albeit maybe they're not behaving as well as I'd like. Yeah, so now we're looking maybe for 5-minute reversals instead. The 3-min didn't give me a very tradable opportunity. Like it gave me the right signal, gave me the right confirmation, but I could not get a reasonable entry. And feel really good about that close, guys. Feel really, really good about that close. Again, we're targeting high a day here. And 657 would be the stop loss with a reference price of 667. So 10 points is much, much more interesting. Let's make sure it's holding support here, though. So 657 would be the stop. Okay, now we're looking for a pull, motherfucker. Again, looking for a gentle pullback here. I was just so ready to do 2 contracts, and now it has to be 1. Okay, watching. Maybe I'll be able to get my 2 again. Kind of feels like it's going to want to fail. Ooh, maybe not. Literally took the words out of my mouth there. Just did not want to give me a super smooth entry, which is really annoying. CL, just the freaking disaster. Nice work, Patrick. Let's go. So this still could be setting up for us here across the board. We're looking to see how these candles close effectively, right? To see if we can get some momentum. We're going to have a chance on either the 10 or the 3 min. 3 min will be first, and then the 10 min subsequently. Oh, excuse me. 20 seconds to go. Yeah, not enough volume there on the 3. See how this closes. Realistically, on the 10, probably want to see it closing above 7. Kind of mediocre. would say for sure, like today, we're also getting, I would say, pretty choppy price action, right? We've seen failed breakouts, right, in both directions. We've potentially seen like a little bit of a failed reversal, right, from the bottom up. The concern I have, I would say, is that it rejected 700 so quickly and so easily. And so I would like to see that area act as some form of support. Otherwise, it does feel like that was its move. So like if I would say if I was like looking at that previous bit of price action, and I've got like a checklist of what does a strong move look like. Holding the round number would have been probably the first step on that checklist or the first bit of it. I didn't quite do it. So, maybe there's a chance here on the 15, which is the next kind of like reasonable close we get. But I'm not optimistic that we're going to get the volume we need, which is kind of why I think it might be more now chopped than anything else, right? Because we've seen effectively like 3 variants of price action all attempt to kind of dictate the mood for the day. And I would say that like we've seen 2.5 failures of it so far. I might just end up having to be a base hit day here a little bit. Okay, so let's see here. Don't think we're going to get the volume on the 15, so we're back to kind of looking at shorter time frames on it. There's not nearly enough volume to trust that, right? Like that's the lowest volume bar of the day by actually a decent amount. Like I can't trade that volume profile. I can't even talk myself into that being like a B plus. So we need to see some sort of momentum return. Otherwise, it just appears to be kind of like range bound PA. We're effectively in the open, right? Or in the middle of today's like tradable range in general. So very limited reasons to be hyper aggressive in either direction. We need to see some volume, right? It's got to be really strong volume here. So back to waiting a little bit, right? That's fine. I'd rather be too cautious here today than be too aggressive. I think we did a really good job on those first 2 positions that we took, and we managed our risk well. We managed our mental capital well, and we're sitting on green. Like that for me is a positive, right? It's a good process that's leading to an outcome that compounds nicely. Don't really have too many complaints about that. And I wouldn't say that we're necessarily in an environment that's super rewarding, I guess, of being hyper aggressive, right? And I'm not saying that because I'm nervous or fearful or anything of the market. I do think that every trade has taken the hard way of getting there so far, and that should slow me down, right? That's a lot of information that should force me to slow down. So if there's issues on Discord's end team, I would highly recommend just using the YouTube stream, right? So you guys have that backup option. If Discord's having some issues on their server end, then that sort of is the reason why the YouTube exists. So if you're having some issues there, I would just migrate to the backup link. It's increasing, not outlier volume. Yes, maybe. No. Like this is this volume is saying it's 6 feet tall, but it's actually 5'10". So can't trust it. Basically what I'm looking for here now is proof that we're not in consolidation mode, right? That's kind of what I'm looking for here. Maybe you're starting to see a little bit of separation, but I don't like how quickly that rejected the 20 points. That felt too easy. Or maybe not too easy. Felt like there was nothing there. Felt like fluff. I haven't back tested my strategy on the Dow or the Russell. We talked about a little bit maybe replacing crude with something, and that for sure could be one of the options. Again, like it's can see a little roof just under outlier. I don't know if I'm really in the mood for compromises. Yeah, we're waiting just for a setup trigger to present itself here, James. When something comes together, I'll start talking about it for sure. I'm still not particularly optimistic that we do have a backdrop that's telling me I need to be aggressive. I still think all the information I've gotten here so far today is that maybe I should just be happy with it. Because I don't think I've seen an easy trade. I don't think I've seen an easy trade here all day yet. It's 10:30. So I need to see just like smooth and consistent price action. And I'm not sure if we're seeing much of that here at the moment. Like this would have been a hard 10 points. This again, hard 5, 6 points. Not enough. There's not enough juice in that orange. Especially considering we're taking like risk of, we'll say like 15 to 20 points, right? On average has kind of been our range here today. Uh, you mean by EMS2? You mean this? I'm not sure if I know what ticker you're looking at here, Tony. If you're looking at ESM, maybe the typo. Right. Well, this is just a previous expiration. It's no longer in business. M is the monthly code for June. And that's no longer a tradable contract. Yeah, so June is no longer tradable, right? We're past that. It expired. So I'm being patient here, team. I don't see much worth risking for here yet. Again, still not much. NQ, not enough volume here again, right, to justify anything. So like low volume, low enthusiasm breakouts, right, aren't super indicative of getting a trend day or a trending market. We're already running out of momentum an hour in. Probably not a good sign, right, that we're going to get like a late morning pop. So I think for all intents and purposes, it probably isn't going to be another trade for me here today. I'm going to just have to be happy with the scraps I was able to feed on here this morning. I'm going to get to finish one full coffee here today. Kind of horrific. Let's go, Eric. Nice work. $600 is fantastic. Keeps the day job away. Absolutely. Nice work, Michaela. Yeah, I'm not sure if I see myself being very aggressive here. Yeah, it's not indicative of trending PA, right? Hey, 145 though, Chris, that's easy work, man. That's exactly how you want to be managing your risk, right? So pretty easy to make that back, right? That's fantastic. Like what how to put this nicely. Like my New Year's resolution in August, we'll call it, right? Or my New Year's resolution for like the second half of the year is get better at losing, which I know sounds kind of ridiculous, but the easier I make it for myself to lose really small, the more money I make. And the more I obsess over losing small and like really focusing on those elements, the more mental capital I protect, which means I trade better and ultimately, right, make more money. Like the first principle of being, more profitable than I want to be or than I currently am is really focusing right on keeping those losses small, keeping that mental capital and allowing myself to not get pissed off in the middle of a trading day. There's like those days where, yeah, I'm short and snappy and grumpy and whatever, or like bringing baggage into like previous trading days. It's a better feeling to get rid of that energy in the moment, but it generally is I'd say, leading indicator that my strategy is testing my mental capital limits, or my execution is testing my mental capital limits. And usually at that point, right, I stop I stop just being as good of a trader as I could be. And so much better to be proactive in those situations, right? Protect myself from myself. And then, once those foundations are in place, then the money kind of just takes care of itself. It's a really weird sensation, but it does feel very often like the more you try to press money in the short term, kind of like the further and further away it goes. And so forcing myself to almost like not care about it, or to make the money insignificant in the short term, I believe it's going to make me a lot more in the long term. Kind of the thesis here. And yeah, guys, I'm the same effectively here today. I'm like 212 on the day. So you guys are pretty much spot on to where I'm at. Yeah, any questions here, team? So uninterested in anything that's going on here right now that I can't justify taking a trade here. I don't think anything here is worth the energy. So I think I'm probably just going to take my my win and go. Protect mental capital, walk away green, compound green days. That's the name of the game. Facts, James, facts. I got to do some good fueling here today. Any other questions here, team? Anything else you guys want to go over? Anything maybe I haven't touched on well this week, or anything that maybe or any questions or something like that? Feel a little bit like I didn't have to use my voice too much today. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Let's go, Charles. Nice work. Green on 9. That's fantastic. How much per? Not enough volume on this 1030 candle. Would need to be outlier volume. It's increasing, but relative to sort of the other volume bars that we've seen here so far today, this looks pretty small in comparison. So I would have no interest in that. Same thing on NQ. Let's go, Charles. Nice work, man. Congratulations. Yeah, Hunter, probably not for me here today. Like, my biggest fear is that the volume and momentum has completely disappeared. So if I were to look for a big move, it would have to be volume that looks like this 10 a.m. volume, or this 9:45 volume, or something crazy. Hey, I like that. That's a great decision. I've got not today, but tomorrow I'm doing my first ever electric e-bike ride. So today I gotta punish myself with some miles. So that's my plan for the afternoon too. All right. Anything else here, team? Anything else? Oh, I'm excited. Yeah. It's Crankworks here, Crankworks week here in Whistler, which is really, really fun during the week. Absolute chaos on the weekends. But what that means basically is like every big bike company is here and they've got a booth and they've got a tent and they do a bunch of group rides. And so it's pretty cool. There's a lot of fun stuff going on right now. I've been spending a lot of time running recently, so getting time on bike again would be really nice. Oh, that's epic. Oh, I have seen some of the belt drive systems. Yeah, that feels like it's going to be the future. Hey, nice work, Patrick. Good bounce back, man. Good bounce back. Send me your trades from yesterday. Oh, actually, I should mention this here. Good, Tony. Love to hear that. Or I'll put this in the members chat for everyone. But yeah, I'll just put it in the members chat now. It'll be easiest. I don't know if I want to spew this out here. All right. So yeah, final call for questions here, team. Final call for questions. All right, team. Well, if nothing else, I'm going to kill the stream here for the day. We've not missed out on anything for the last hour. So I'm going to just be hanging out and not placing any further trades. So same deal like always, right? If you have any questions, hit me up outside of market hours. I will do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. Otherwise, have yourselves a great rest of the day, and I'll see you all tomorrow. for what should hopefully be our third green day of the week. So have yourselves a great day, team, and we'll talk then.